She brushed it off, telling me not to be jealous, that they'd stayed at a hotel only because he was drunk. I nodded and said, "All right, let's see." Then I asked for access to the hotel's security cameras. She started screaming before I even saw the footage. "I'm 30M. My girlfriend, Kayla, is 27F. We've been together just under 2 years, living together for 9 months. Up until recently, I thought we were solid. Not perfect, but normal solid. The kind where you argue about dishes, not morals. Kayla has always had this thing where she calls any discomfort I have jealousy. Not insecurity, jealousy. Like it's some immature flaw she tolerates out of kindness. She has a lot of male friends, which I was fine with at first. I'm not the no-guy friends type. But over time, boundaries started blurring, and every time I brought it up, she'd sigh and say, "God, don't be like that." 3 nights ago, she didn't come home. At 1:12 a.m., she texted me, "Staying at a hotel. Don't freak out." That's it. No context. No call. I asked where. She didn't reply for 40 minutes. Then, downtown. Ethan got wasted and couldn't drive. I wasn't leaving him like that. Ethan, her coworker. The one she told me I was being pathetic for asking about last month because he's literally like a brother. I asked why she didn't call me to help. She replied with a voice note, annoyed, slurring slightly herself. "Don't be jealous. Nothing happened. We stayed at a hotel because he was drunk." End of story. Something about how quickly she shut it down made my stomach turn. She came home late the next morning, sunglasses on, snapping at me for interrogating her. Said I was controlling. Said normal boyfriends would trust her. Then she added, smirking, "If you don't trust me, that's a you problem." I told her calmly, "All right, let's see." She laughed. "See what?" "The hotel," I said. "Security footage. Hallways. Lobby. Check-in. Just to clear the air." Her face changed instantly. She started screaming before I even touched my phone. I'm not exaggerating when I say she exploded. The second I said security footage, Kayla went from smug to unhinged. She didn't ask why. She didn't laugh it off. She didn't say that was unnecessary or ridiculous. She screamed, "What the actual F*** is wrong with you? You're insane. You don't get to spy on me. This is abusive behavior." All rapid fire. Loud. Panicked. I hadn't even opened my laptop yet. That reaction alone told me more than any video ever could. I stayed calm, which only seemed to make her angrier. I told her hotels keep footage for liability reasons. Hallways, elevators, lobbies. I said I wasn't asking to invade privacy, just to verify the story she insisted was innocent. She paced the living room, pulling at her hair, repeating that I was crossing a line. At one point she yelled, "Why are you so obsessed with catching me doing something?" That sentence stuck with me. I asked a very simple question. "If nothing happened, why are you scared?" She snapped back instantly. "I'm not scared. I'm offended." Then she grabbed her phone and started texting someone aggressively. I didn't have to ask who. I told her I'd already called the hotel to ask about their process for requesting footage. I didn't mention that I hadn't even formally requested anything yet. I wanted to see how deep she'd dig herself. She froze. Her voice dropped an octave. "You already called?" "Yeah," I said, just to understand the procedure. That's when she said something that made my chest go cold. "They won't give it to you anyway," she said quickly. "Because nothing happened. And because it's illegal. So you should just drop it." Too prepared. Too defensive. I asked her again to walk me through the night. Slowly. From the moment Ethan got drunk. She rolled her eyes hard enough I thought they'd get stuck. Said he couldn't stand. She didn't want to babysit him in public. And the hotel was the safest option. She claimed they got separate beds. Claimed she passed out immediately. When I asked why she didn't tell me the hotel name until the next morning, she said, "Because you'd act exactly like this." I told her I was going to request the footage anyway. She started crying. Not sad crying. Angry crying. She pointed at me and said, "If you do this, we're done." And that's when I realized something terrifying. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of what the cameras might show. Her ultimatum didn't scare me. It clarified things. "If you do this, we're done," she said, arms crossed, chin lifted like she was daring me. I nodded. Okay. That threw her off. She expected panic, bargaining, backtracking. Instead, I opened my laptop and emailed the hotel's front desk while she watched. I didn't even hide the screen. I kept it professional. Asked about their security camera retention policy and the process for requesting footage related to registered guests. No accusations. No drama. She lunged for the laptop. I closed it just in time. Are you trying to humiliate me? She screamed. Do you know how crazy this makes you look? I asked her again, calmly, why she didn't just Uber Ethan home. Why a hotel was the only option. Why she didn't call me. Why she didn't even come home once he was safe. Her answers kept changing. First it was because he was vomiting. Then because his phone died. Then because she was tired. Then because it was none of my business. At one point she said, I knew you'd make this a thing, so I handled it myself. That sentence made my skin crawl. I asked if they checked in together. She hesitated. Just a second. Then said, obviously yes. It was easier. I asked if they went to the room together. Another pause. Longer this time. I mean, yeah? The elevator, obviously. God, why are you like this? I asked if anyone else saw them. She snapped. It's a hotel, not a courthouse. She kept circling back to how embarrassing this would be for her. Her coworkers. Her reputation. How people would get the wrong idea. Not once did she say, I didn't cheat. That night, she slept on the couch by choice, blasting TikToks at full volume like she was trying to drown out her own thoughts. Around 2 a.m., I heard her quietly crying, then angrily whispering into her phone. The next morning, I got an email back from the hotel. They confirmed the date. They confirmed the room. They confirmed the cameras. They asked me to submit a formal request. When I told Kayla, she didn't yell. She went completely silent. That scared me more than the screaming ever did. The silence was worse than the screaming. Kayla didn't argue, didn't insult me, didn't threaten to leave. She just sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. You're really going through with this, she said finally. Not a question. Yes. She laughed once. Dry? Wow. You really want this relationship to be over, don't you? That was her move. Rewrite my motives so she didn't have to face her own. I told her the hotel had already confirmed the footage existed and that I just needed to submit the request form with my ID and the booking information. I said it plainly, like I was explaining how to return a package. Her hand slammed the table. You don't get to do this to me. To you? I repeated. I'm asking for clarity. She stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly against the floor. You're trying to trap me. This is a setup. I asked how footage of a hallway was a trap if nothing happened. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Then she snapped. Because people will misinterpret things. Like what? I asked. Like body language. Timing. Proximity. She waved her hands wildly. You know how things can look bad even when they aren't. That answer sat heavy between us. I asked her where Ethan was now. At home, she said too quickly. Then added, why? No reason, I said. I was already texting the hotel to submit the formal request. That's when she lost it again. She grabbed her keys, screamed that she needed air, and stormed out. 5 minutes later, I saw her car peel out of the parking lot. She didn't come back that night. At 11:47 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. Hey man, this is Ethan. We need to talk. That was the moment I knew the footage wasn't going to be boring, and that whatever they were afraid of wasn't hypothetical anymore. I didn't reply to Ethan right away. Not because I was scared, but because I wanted to see what else would move when I didn't. Kayla came back the next afternoon like nothing happened. Same attitude. Same tight smile. She asked if I'd eaten her leftovers and snapped when I said no. The audacity was almost impressive. Then her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, stiffened, and walked into the bathroom to answer it. She didn't close the door all the way. I heard fragments. No, I didn't tell him that. Because you said it was fine. I thought you handled it. When she came out, she saw me looking at her and immediately went on the offensive. So what? Now you're eavesdropping too. I ignored that. Ethan texted me. Her face drained of color. You gave him my number? She snapped. No, I said. He already had it. She opened her mouth, then stopped. That was mistake number one. I told her he wanted to talk. She said absolutely not. Said he was drunk when he texted. Said he was dramatic. Said he was trying to protect himself. Protect himself from what? She didn't answer. That night, I finally replied to Ethan. I kept it simple. You can talk. Say what you need to say. He called immediately. His voice was shaky, sober, nervous. He said he didn't want drama. Said Kayla told him I was unstable and looking for reasons to blow things up. Then he paused and said, but man, the hotel thing? She didn't tell you the full story. My heart started pounding. He admitted they checked in together. Admitted they went straight to the room. Admitted they stayed in the same bed, but swore nothing happened. Then he said the line that made my blood run cold. There's probably footage of us in the elevator. She was sitting on me. I didn't yell. I didn't react. I just thanked him and hung up. When I walked back into the living room, Kayla was watching me like she already knew. I told her the hotel would send the footage within 48 hours. She started screaming again. But this time, she didn't say I was crazy. She said, "You promised you wouldn't do this to me." That sentence stopped me cold. I promised you wouldn't do this to me. Not you promised you wouldn't cheat. Not you promised you'd trust me. Just this. Like the real betrayal was me refusing to stay confused. I asked her what exactly I'd promised. She couldn't answer. She just kept pacing, running her hands through her hair, muttering that I was blowing up her life over nothing. Nothing, I said. You stayed in a hotel with another guy? You lied about it. You panicked when I asked for proof. He admitted things don't match your story. She snapped back instantly. He's exaggerating. He's dramatic. He's trying to save himself. I asked her directly. Did you sit on him in the elevator? Her mouth opened, closed. Then she rolled her eyes hard and said, "Oh my God, are we really doing this?" That was my answer. She tried a new tactic then. Softer voice. Tears on command. She said she felt unsafe. Said my insistence on footage made her feel violated. Said I was turning into someone she didn't recognize. I pointed out that if roles were reversed, she'd already have my bags packed. She didn't deny it. Instead, she said, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't need proof." That's when I finally raised my voice. If you really respected me, I wouldn't need to ask. She went quiet again, sat down, stared at the wall. Later that night, she asked if I'd still sleep in the bed. Like that was the priority. I said no and took a blanket to the couch. She didn't follow. She stayed up scrolling on her phone, occasionally sighing loudly enough for me to hear. At 9:03 a.m. the next morning, the hotel emailed me. They confirmed the footage was ready. Lobby, elevator, hallway outside the room. No commentary, no interpretation, just timestamps and clips. I hadn't even downloaded it yet when Kayla walked in, saw the email subject line, and dropped her phone. It shattered on the floor. She didn't look at it. She looked at me and whispered, "Please don't watch it." That was the moment I knew whatever was on those cameras was worse than anything I'd imagined. I didn't open the footage right away. That's the part people don't get when I tell them this later. They think the moment I had proof lined up, I rushed to it like ripping off a bandage. I didn't. I just sat there with my laptop closed, listening to Kayla cry in the bathroom like someone at a funeral who knew the body personally. She came out after a few minutes, eyes red, face bare, no performance left. She sat across from me on the couch and spoke very quietly, like volume alone might control the damage. "You don't need to watch it," she said. "I'll tell you whatever you want to know." That sentence hit harder than any scream. "Then start talking," I said. She nodded, wiped her nose, and stared at her hands. She said Ethan was drunk. Yes, that part was true. She said she was annoyed with him, embarrassed, and didn't want to deal with him alone. She said the hotel felt easier than calling me because she didn't want to fight. I asked her why she didn't just leave once he was in the room. She hesitated, then said, "Because he kept apologizing." And I felt bad. I asked her why she didn't leave after that. Another pause. Longer. "Because it got complicated." That was her word. Complicated. She admitted they sat close in the elevator. Admitted he touched her waist. Admitted she didn't stop him. She kept repeating, but it didn't go all the way, like that was supposed to be a life raft. I asked if she kissed him. She shook her head at first, then nodded, then whispered, "I don't know." That was it for me. I stood up, grabbed my laptop, and told her I was going to watch the footage. She grabbed my arm so hard it hurt, and said, "Please, I'm begging you." Not begging me to stay, begging me not to see. I gently pulled my arm free and went into the bedroom, locking the door behind me. The first clip was the lobby. They walked in together at 12:38 a.m. She was laughing, not supporting him, not frustrated, laughing. And my stomach dropped, because whatever came next was already worse than the story she'd sold me. I clicked the elevator footage, and that's where everything finally stopped being debatable. The elevator footage was silent. No dramatic angles, no grainy mystery, just a fixed camera in the corner doing exactly what it was designed to do. Record reality without interpretation. The doors closed. Ethan leaned back against the wall, swaying slightly. Kayla stepped in front of him, not beside him. In front, close enough that there was no space between them. She put her hands on his shoulders to steady him. That's what she would have called it. Then she laughed again. He said something I couldn't hear, and she rolled her eyes, smiling. The same smile she used when she thought something was cute but didn't want to admit it. He slid his hands to her waist. She didn't remove them. She adjusted her stance so it was easier. Then she sat on his lap. Not collapsed. Not stumbled. Saturday. Her legs on either side of him. Her arms around his neck. His face buried against her shoulder. The elevator stopped on their floor. The doors opened. She didn't move immediately. She stayed there for a full 3 seconds, then stood up, smoothed her dress, and walked out first, confident, composed, while he followed. I paused the video and stared at the wall. I felt weirdly calm, like my body had been bracing for impact for days, and the crash had finally happened. The hallway footage was worse in a quieter way. No chaos. No drunken stumbling. Just them walking shoulder to shoulder, her leaning into him, his arm around her waist, her head tilting toward his. At their room door, she turned, said something, and kissed him. Not a drunk peck. A deliberate kiss. I closed the laptop. When I unlocked the bedroom door, Kayla was sitting on the floor outside it, knees pulled to her chest. She looked up at me, searching my face like it might still save her. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "Pack a bag." She started sobbing immediately, saying it didn't mean anything, that she was confused, that she was scared of losing me, that it never would have happened if I hadn't been so suspicious all the time. That last part snapped something inside me. I told her she had 30 minutes. And for the first time since this started, she finally understood she wasn't screaming her way out of this one. She didn't pack quietly. She packed like someone hoping noise would change the outcome. Drawers slammed. Zippers yanked. She kept talking the entire time, like if she filled the air fast enough I wouldn't have space to think. She said she'd been stressed. She said she'd felt neglected. She said Ethan took advantage of the situation. Then, without missing a beat, she said she knew she should have pushed him away harder. None of it landed. At one point she stopped and looked at me, mascara streaked down her face, and said, "You're really not even fighting for us." That one almost got me. Almost. I told her I fought the moment I asked questions instead of swallowing lies. I told her I fought when I stayed calm while she screamed. I told her I fought when I gave her every chance to tell the truth before cameras had to. She shook her head and said, "You care more about footage than feelings." "No," I said. "I care more about reality than excuses." When she was done packing, she stood in the doorway with her bag, waiting. For permission. For forgiveness. For me to say don't go. I didn't. She left, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from her. "So that's it." I didn't reply. Then another. "I hope you're happy destroying everything over one mistake." That one I almost responded to. Not to argue, but to correct the math. Because it wasn't one mistake. It was a pattern capped by panic. Instead, I blocked her. That night, I slept deeper than I had in weeks. The next morning, I sent the hotel footage to myself again, not because I needed to see it, but because I wanted to remember exactly why clarity hurt less than doubt. By afternoon, mutual friends started reaching out. Carefully, neutrally, asking what happened. I didn't overshare. I didn't defend myself. I just said, I asked for honesty. I got screaming instead. Funny thing is, no one argued with that. And for the first time since she said, "Don't be jealous," I realized jealousy had never been the issue. Trust was. It's been a few weeks now, and things are quieter in a way I didn't realize I'd been craving. The apartment feels bigger. Not emptier, just calmer. No tension humming under the surface. No phone lighting up at 1 a.m. with explanations that don't quite add up. I changed the sheets, moved the couch, deleted her number. Small physical resets that helped my brain catch up with reality. Kayla tried one last time a few days after she left. She emailed me. Not texted, not called. An email. Long, carefully worded. Full of phrases like poor judgment, emotional overload, boundary confusion. She apologized for how it looked and said she hated that it came out this way. She said she never meant to hurt me and hoped one day we could talk like adults. What stood out was what wasn't there. No ownership. No, I cheated. No, I lied. Just a lot of passive language where things happened instead of choices being made. I didn't reply. I don't need closure from someone who only tells the truth once there's evidence. The screaming before the footage, that was the real confession. Innocent people don't panic at the idea of light. They welcome it. Looking back, the hotel wasn't the betrayal. The betrayal was how quickly she tried to make me doubt myself. How easily she called me jealous, controlling, crazy, anything except right. How she expected trust without honesty and loyalty without boundaries. I've replayed that first sentence a lot. Don't be jealous. We stayed at a hotel because he was drunk. What she really meant was, don't question me. Don't look too closely. Accept the version that protects me. I didn't. And yeah, It hurt to see the footage. But it would have hurt a lot more to ignore it and spend years feeling crazy for noticing things that didn't make sense. So if there's any advice I can give, it's this. When someone reacts to questions with rage instead of answers, listen to that. When they're more afraid of proof than consequences, believe them. Clarity hurts, but not as much as staying blind on purpose. Thanks for reading.